Fee 102. Study Session 6. Fallacies of Presumption. Introduction. We have been able to look at some incorrect patterns of reasoning in our discussion of fallacies of relevance and fallacies of ambiguity. In this study session, we shall end our discussion of informal fallacies by looking at fallacies of presumption. We commit these fallacies when in an argument we infer our conclusion from premises whose truth is uncertain or assumed. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to present the defining features of fallacies of presumption and give at least 2 examples of each of the fallacies of presumption. Fallacy of accident. This fallacy is committed when a generalization is wrongly applied to a particular case. Copy et al. 2006, page 380. Hence, fallacy of accident begins with the statement of some principle that is true as a general rule, but then errs by applying this principle to a specific case that is unusual, atypical, and whose accidental circumstances render the rule inapplicable. Or 2012, page 46. We commit this fallacy when we appear to be oblivious of the fact that even general rules or principles do have plausible exceptions. In other words, it would be fallacious to argue a case based on the assumption that some rule or generalization applies universally. Converse accident or hasty generalization. This fallacy occurs when individual cases are generalized. Put differently, this fallacy is committed when we draw conclusions about all the persons or things in a given class on the basis of our knowledge about only one or only a very few of the members of that class. Copy et al. 2006, page 378. For example, Ayongalu hails from Oyo and is a good drummer. Therefore, people who hail from Oyo are good drummers. General Babangida, whose birthday fell within the Leo period, possessed great power of dominating his associates. Therefore, those who are born within the Leo period dominate their associates. False cause. This fallacy mainly has to do with cause and effect relation, the nature of the connection between cause and effect, and how the presence or absence of the connection is determined. This fallacy is committed when something, say X, that is not really a cause, is treated as the cause of another, say Y. There are 2 strands of this fallacy. A. Non-causa pro causa. This fallacy occurs when we presume the reality of a causal connection, say between X and Y, that does not really exist. And B. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. This fallacy occurs when we presume that an event X is caused by another event Y that occurred immediately before it. The following examples represent the 2 strands of false cause fallacy. The moon was full on Thursday evening. On Friday morning, I overslept. Therefore, the full moon caused me to oversleep. Who will doubt that the witch who shrieked yesterday is responsible for the death of this child? Begging the question. Petitio principii. This fallacy is also referred to as secular argument and is committed when the conclusion of an argument is stated in one of the premises. If the truth of what one seeks to prove is already stated or assumed in the premises, then begging the question is the fallacy involved. In other words, if one assumes as a premise for an argument the conclusion one intends to prove, then one commits this fallacy. Or 2012, page 47. The following are examples of begging the question. It is best to have government of the people, for the people and by the people, because democracy is the best form of government. Or 2012, page 47. Complex question. Complex question occurs when we ask a question in such a way as to presuppose the truth of the conclusion, irrespective of whether the obvious question is answered in the affirmative or in the negative. Bello, 2007, page 49. Most times, complex question is couched so rhetorically that the speaker seeks no genuine answer. As a deceitful device, especially in dialogues, complex question is posed to suggest the truth of unstated assumptions on which it is built. Now, let us take the following examples offered by Bello, 2007, pages 49 to 50. Have you stopped beating your wife? Did your sale increase as a result of your misleading advertisements? If your answer is yes to the question in example 1, then you admit that you are fond of beating your wife. If your answer is no, then you admit that you still beat your wife. Also, in example 2, if you give an affirmative answer to the question, then you admit that your advertisement was misleading. If your answer is in the negative, then you admit that you still practice misleading advertisement. We are warned, therefore, that the best way to handle a complex question is not to answer it at all. Simply insist that the questions be separated. Bello, 2007, page 50. Study session summary. No doubt, your studies on informal fallacies have helped you to understand that fallacies are deceptive and can garble good arguments and critical thinking. Thus, whether they are committed inadvertently in the course of an individual's own thinking or deliberately employed in an effort to manipulate others, each tends not to provide legitimate grounds for the truth of its conclusion. End of study session 6. Thank you for listening.